everyone. Today my report is about the greatest composer of all time, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. The background music that you are about to hear is one of his most famous works called the Little Night Music, also known as Symphony No. 13. Near the end of my report, you will hear another song called the Requiem Mass. Mozart was way ahead of his time. He was a musical genius. His works have impacted not just people, but different cultures. With just the simple strokes of the piano keys, he changed the way music was, not only for his time, but the future of classical music too. Now, who is Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart? Let me introduce you to his earlier years. On January 27, 1756, a wonder boy was born in Salzburg, Austria. He was baptized as Johannes Chrysostomus Wolfgangus Theophilus Mozart, or most famously known as Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. He would later become a musician and composer, influencing culture during his lifetime, after his death, and until the present day. Mozart was born to a musical family. His father, Leopold Mozart, was a professional musician who worked in the Archbishop Sigmund's orchestra. Even as a child, Wolfgang's musical talents were phenomenal, even better than his sisters. No. He learned how to play the harpsichord, the clavichord, and the violin even before his father taught him. Wolfgang and Annelle did not go to school. Instead, they were taught all their lessons by their strict father. When Wolfgang was 6, his father decided that he would embark on a concert tour with his whole family around Europe. For 4 years, they traveled through many places in Europe, such as Vienna, Munich, London, Paris, and many other places, showing off their musical talents. Wolfgang and his sister played for royalties as child prodigies, but Wolfgang often fell ill. He was scarred from smallpox when he was an infant. Later, he caught scarlet fever twice. Some people said that he might have had Tourette's syndrome because he displayed symptoms such as mood swings, use of vulgar words, and frequent cramps. Even with his weak health, Mozart was still a boy who was full of hopes and promises. As he grew older, he fell in love with a singer called Aloysia Weber, but she rejected him. After a few years, he married her sister, Constanze Weber. They had 6 children, but just like his own family, only 2 survived. Some contemporaries that deeply influenced Mozart's works were Joseph Haydn and Johann Seebach, who became his teachers for a while. Mozart also had pupils, but he hated losing his time to compose. One of his most famous pupils was Beethoven. And I quote from Mozart, "Neither a lofty degree of intelligence nor imagination, nor both together, go to the making of genius. Love, love, love. That is the soul of genius." Although Mozart had a short life, this versatile composer composed more than 600 extraordinary works, which included symphonies, piano concertos, violin concertos, string quartets, masses, operas, and lastly, a requiem. Some of Mozart's most famous operas were The Abduction from the Seraglio, The Marriage of Figaro, Don Giovanni, and the Magic Flute. I'm going to talk about the Magic Flute now, since it was his last opera. An opera is a dramatic work which blends elements of theater, dance, and music. In Mozart's opera, The Magic Flute, there were two main types. There were a combination of all kinds of musical moods. There were frightening, powerful music, and the fastest and highest notes you'll ever hear. When Mozart was alone in his house, composing the last parts of the Magic Flute, a stranger wearing dark clothes and a hood wrote an unsigned letter which commissioned Mozart to write a requiem. A requiem is a mass composed to honor a person who has died. Since Mozart was a very superstitious guy, he wondered who wanted the music written and who it was for. At that same time, he began to feel ill again. One day he could not get out of bed. Some people said that he was poisoned by a rival called Antonio Salieri. Others said that there was a curse on the requiem. On December 5th, 1791, at precisely 1 o'clock a.m., Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart died and was buried in a peasant's cemetery. Acute rheumatic fever was determined to be the actual cause of his death. The requiem remained unfinished and was handed over to his pupil, Susmair, to be completed. At the end, the requiem mass was not only played for her Franz's funeral, but for Wolfgang's too. On a personal note, these are some character traits that I admire about Mozart. I admire Mozart for his ingenious musical talent. He was a natural at playing musical instruments way before he was given any lessons. Mozart's determination at work was one trait that helped him earn his fame. Even though some things didn't go the way he wanted them to, he would be persistent and never give up. He would work day and night at composing. His passion for music was unrelenting, even when some of his works were unsuccessful. He sought experience, never caring about what other people said. Another thing that inspires me is Mozart's constant and unsurpassed creativity. He was always willing to let his ideas float around him. Mozart's time was during the Age of Enlightenment, when people started to resist the traditions and powers of the church. This incited Mozart to not only compose church music, but his own remarkable music. Mozart was a versatile artist who not only composed, but would sometimes perform as an actor in his own operas. Mozart's commitment to work was one of the most admirable traits I learned. Even though he was dying at his deathbed, he was still writing the commissioned Requiem Mass. These character traits were very extraordinary and especially meaningful not only to me, but I hope to everybody else. In some countries, the Mozart Festival is celebrated on a yearly basis. The whole world has inherited from Mozart 202 hours of delightful music. It has been hypothesized that listening to Mozart's music could help or improve one's health, education, and well-being. This was known as the Mozart effect, yet to be proven. Nonetheless, his music is timeless and astounding. Let me share with you my verse. 2 Chronicles 15:6. But be strong. Don't give up. God will reward you for your work. The reason I chose this verse was because Mozart never gave up, and when someone criticized him, it would not stop or bother him. This is the end of my report. Thank you all for your time.